How to properly write diversity, because I talked about this before. Okay, I talked about this before in the review. I explained in detail why specifically this book fails and how does it fail to properly depict Japanese culture. And well, guess what? You see, the biggest problem in there was how Americans, the way they think of diversity is very, very terrible. It's very awful. And a lot of Americans will think of diversity, nothing against Americans, just depicting what I've seen. I'm talking about what I've seen and what I've noticed and what is evidently just out there. You can see this in Milan, you can see this in Storm Dancer, and you can see this in every corner of American diversity. Even when they are depicting experiences such as being gay and such as being queer and member of the LGBTQ plus community, well, even when that is being depicted, it's always just the aesthetics that are emphasized rather than actual behavior, rather than depicting the cultural thinking or the problems someone gay might face. What ends up happening is that we have that gay best friend, or we have, oh, this is an African story because it has some voodoo shit, and we have some dark witchcraft, and someone has skulls and they paint their body. That you go to Africa, you'll have to travel for hundreds and hundreds of miles before you come across anyone who does that. So technically speaking, a lot of Americans emphasize, aesthetics over actual diversity, over the brain, over the mind, over the social dynamics someone, who is having a completely different experience might be going through. And I think this is complete BS. I have talked about about 2 months ago, I think, at this point. Well, it feels like forever, but I've talked about in a video how, in order to write proper diversity, what you have to do is, first of all, if you're not, the first step, I've outlined 3 steps. The first step is, if you're not going to do the diversity properly, please don't do it. Because you see, there is only one other answer. If you are well-intentioned, and if you care about your art, if you care about the expression of writing a story and the artistic, fact of writing a story, which is for expressing yourself and putting effort into your art, well, it requires that first of all, you do enough research to understand someone who has had a different experience and someone from a different culture. If you don't do that, first of all, it means that you're not really passionate about writing a story. What you are passionate about is using diversity as a marketing gimmick. You want to use diversity for your own gain, okay? And you don't really care about artistic expression anymore. What J. Christoph in The Storm Dancer, what he ends up doing is using Japanese culture as a backdrop for his steampunk terrible story that has no depth whatsoever. I talked about in that review everything. It's a very long review, like some 15-17 minutes, and I detailed everything in there. But moving back to this particular thing, if you don't care to do diversity properly, the only reason why you're doing it is to use it as a marketing gimmick. Once you use diversity as a marketing gimmick, first of all, you end up doing something, I called in that last video, cultural assassination. Imagine, as someone from East Africa, what if I depict an American? What if I depict an American who does not believe in freedom of speech and behaves more like a Soviet Russian? That would really not be realistic. Imagine if that person, if I look you in the face, okay, with both of my eyes, and I tell you, oh, no, this dude was raised in the heart of Texas. Yeah, he's a true Republican. Like, it would not add up. It would not add up. That would be me, someone from a foreign, far part of the world to America, failing to do any basic research about Americans to properly write and represent an American character in my story. At least an average character, okay, an average person who is raised there. They would believe in something, in freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression. These are basic American things that literally, if you have a survey, you can expect 90% of the population to agree with you, okay? Except few weirdos. They consider those weirdos. Anyhow, this fell. Number 2, if you have decided to do diversity, and you are going to have other people from other cultures, or you're going to be depicting someone who is straight, you're going to be depicting like queer relationships, or someone who is a normal civilian, you're going to be depicting, rare experiences like, PTSD for a civilian. PTSD, right, is quite very rare, right, if you've had a normal life. Well, guess what? Now you come to the second part. Don't care about the aesthetics, okay? In so much of American representation of things that really are not common for the average person, what ends up happening is that the aesthetics are cared about more than the actual, things within, okay? Another culture focus on the behavior rather than focusing on the aesthetic. This happened in Storm Dancer. That book, it only just focuses on the aesthetic. For instance, I'll give you a good example. In The Way of Kings, Kaladin has depression. Do you think Brandon Sanderson, focused on the aesthetics of that particular illness or mental illness, or do you think he focused on, depicting it and how it would affect someone in a very stressful situation? That's what he depicts. He depicts something deep, okay? Something within, something that is actually, people who have depression have commented, this is very beautiful. In fact, people go as far as to say, Brandon Sanderson has the best depiction of depression in the entirety of the fantasy genre. See, when you do something properly, there is a reward waiting for you, and it's the love of the public. But if you are going to use diversity, like, oh, I have a depressed protagonist, and this guy is just frolicking around and it doesn't affect him in any way, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a lot of people just shitting on you, okay? A lot of people are just going to be on your throat. And so if you're going to be depicting, for instance, Japan in The Storm Dancer, make sure that you talk to Japanese people, you interact with them, and if you can't do that, if you don't have the budget to do that, it's fine. The internet is your best friend. Talk to them through the internet, or ask them how would someone from Japan react to this, or how would you react to this, and so on and so forth. Or after you write your story, you show it to them, and if they tell you this doesn't add up, well, listen to them, because they know better than you. They have likely decades of experience more than you, being someone from Japan, okay? And this is very important. The older, the better. The older, the better. If you're going to be talking about someone who's gay, talk to a very old gay man or a gay woman. And the last step is the easiest one, which is after you write the story, after you do everything, well, you have to make sure that you talk to people who have had the experience or who are from that culture. If you are trying to depict PTSD, look at interviews, right, of people who have had that particular experience. Maybe soldiers who have returned and who have been interviewed about the experience and how this actually affects them. Talk to a psychiatrist or something like that. Someone who understands these things scientifically and who can diagnose them. Maybe, if you could get your hand on someone who has these experiences, you could directly talk to them, and they will give you actual useful, data, actual useful input, relating specifically to what you are trying to do. And so I'm tired of this BS where people, if they're trying to depict something, they just either half-ass it or they use it as a nefarious method for marketing. The Storm Dancer was one of the worst books I read in May, and I really do not recommend it in any way because it fails in every regard. I hope that you found value in this video and that you enjoyed the discussion. Tell me what you think of using diversity as a marketing gimmick down in the comments below. Do you agree with it? Do you not? Maybe there is an angle I'm not seeing. You can change my mind. Anything, I will be listening to you. Have a nice day.